Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right, y'all see it. Got on my Curry jersey. It is officially basketball season. And we're gonna be talking about some basketball. But tonight's show, the headliner of the show is the Cleveland Browns. But I wanted to talk to the basketball fans so they can maybe answer a question for me. But before we get into that, make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hype me up, and let's get into some sports talk. All right, so just in case you don't know or are not aware, the star of the Cleveland Browns is Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins was at a Halloween event. It looked like that he and his mother put on for his foundation. And I'm like, this needs to be all over the Browns social media because why? Everything rests so heavily on Quinshon Judkins' shoulder on the offense. Now, Dillon had a press conference, and in his press conference, he summed it up where he talked about the receivers and maybe them connecting, maybe try to get the chemistry going is what he's asserting. Maybe that's what he thinks is missing. And while the Browns, Stfansky, is still pushing Dillon, there's also that performative narrative that I told y'all was going to happen. Now, Rizzo, who told y'all just 48 hours ago, that Shedeur was going to play the last 4 games, and that's also being echoed on, I guess, ESPN. Now, Rizzo's asking, should Shedeur start after the bye with the Jets? Because that's what came up 24 hours ago. I said this was going to happen. I said, watch the narrative change to it's okay for Shedeur to start versus the Jets. Why not the Patriots? Are the Browns that comfortable with Dillon that they're willing to move up Shedeur to play against the Jets, who Dillon probably could beat, to be honest? I mean, but not the Patriots. So, here's the thing. Patriots are 5-2. They have a strong defense. I put on the thumbnail that they have a player number 44. I forget his name. He's a dog, right? I don't expect him to take it easy. I think he's about as assertive and as effective as Myles Garrett is. So that's who the Browns expect Dillon to play against, with Quinshon as the guy. But you don't really hear the Browns talking about Quinshon. So that tells you that there's this agenda to build Dillon up. Why? Because if I want to trade Dillon, what needs to happen? I need to keep his trade value at 3 or somewhere above a 2 or something. I don't see any team trading for Dillon as a second round pick. Do you? I don't see any team believing that Dillon is worth a second round pick. I seen Dillon being traded like Greg Newsome and the other guy that just came in. Same position for same position. And they're going to get a third round pick for Dillon. So I believe Stfansky is trying to save face so we don't start having a conversation about him lying about Shiloh Sanders not being developed, right? He's lying and basically trying to make it seem like, Shedeur can't get first team reps. Why not? Dillon had first team reps when he was QB2 behind Flacco. He said, oh, no, he can't get first, no first team reps because, you got a young quarterback like Dillon. Like Dillon is the priority over Shedeur. But 48 hours ago, Shedeur was playing 4 games. Now he playing all the games after the Patriots. Here's the thing. And fans have pointed this out in the comment section. If Shedeur is underdeveloped, he's just starting to get it, according to them, which is a lie. Why does Dillon look worse and Shedeur look better than Dillon? Because Shedeur is exactly who he was when he came to Cleveland, when he got to Cleveland. Why is it Dillon doesn't look like he's improved at all? You know why? Because he wasn't good in college. I didn't watch Oregon play, but the way Dillon plays football, I have no idea how Oregon played football and got as far as they did. It had to be their running back. Because in the NFL, not even 12 months later, Dillon needs Quinshon Judkins. Now he's saying something about the wide receivers, like it's the wide receivers' fault. But I think Tez Johnson is one of the 2 wide receivers to come out of Oregon, and he wasn't drafted till like the 6th or the 7th round. But he over there balling out with Tampa. But Dillon got drafted higher than him. And I think he's more impactful than Dillon. So just like Stfansky lied, it said there was a real competition and Shedeur could compete, and whoever wins is the starter. That's a lie, right? You even heard Mary Cabot say, if you line up Shedeur and Dillon side by side and compete some tasks, 7-on-7, Shedeur will win. So that means that Stfansky knows that too. So why is Stfansky propping up Dillon against the Patriots? This goes back to what I said yesterday. Are y'all sure y'all like Dillon? Because you let him look bad with 52 reps and nothing happened. And now you sending him out here to call out the wide receivers as if it's their fault. As if it's their fault. Telling us basically that there's no chemistry there, and that's why he hopes that, the receivers can make 5-yard catches and turn it into 20 yards or something to that fact. So y'all may have seen a video going around with a lot of people in orange and brown, right? Coordinated colors, supposedly walking through the streets, protesting, put Shedeur in, etc. A lady or man with a bullhorn, etc. That is Sora AI. It's fake. It's not real. Sora AI is taking YouTube by storm with a lot of deep fake videos that you can't really tell it's fake. And the only way you can tell it's fake is because the absurdity that it's pushing. That's typically what it is. It's a lot of things like Michael Jackson, Malcolm X, Bob Ross, the painter, right? You have a lot of absurdity being pushed. But a lot of people really thought that the Sora AI video with people protesting in Cleveland was real. It is to a point. The context, the fact that it happened in the middle of the night, they outside of Cleveland and they all color coordinated. That's the part that's fake. But the sentiment is there. This came from the game with real people. This is not Sora AI. You probably have seen this before. Real people at the game sitting close to the sidelines. You can hear this section chanting to put in Shedeur. All right, check this out.
You did your job. Yeah. We want Sanders. We want Sanders. We want Sanders. We want Sanders.
So that part is real. This is the sentiment from a lot of people in Cleveland that go to the games, that watch the game at home. People pointed out how some of the seated areas were a little sparse. I asked, is it due to the rain? Because they had on ponchos, so I don't know. But they get to go on the road to the Patriots home, right? Now, some people think that the Patriots could end up losing this game, which I find spectacular. I'm like, now, how is it the Patriots could lose this game? There's predictions. Some people say the Patriots going to win in stellar fashion, 26-9, etc., kind of like with the Browns beating Miami. But there are people who are Patriots fans, supposedly, that believe that because the Patriots have played 3 away games, that they could come home and in a fluke lose this game to the Browns. If the Patriots lose this game to the Browns, I'm going to say it was rigged. I already said the Miami game was rigged. I have no problem with saying it because it is. And I'm going to say this one is rigged. But why? Right? Why? Is it because the Patriots already at the top of the division? They going to win the division outright. They don't have any true competition. They can afford to donate a game because I said it. I said Miami donated this game to the Browns last week, which is why there were no consequences for Tua and no consequences for the head coach. So I would expect, based on what I have watched about Pittsburgh, with the Patriots being a damn good team that's leading the division, I would expect that they win and not by a touchdown. I would expect them to blow out the Browns, right? But what is the Browns expecting? So much so that they feel comfortable possibly losing this game. Kevin Stfansky in his press conference talked about how the Patriots are this and the Patriots are that, and they're good this and they're good. You know, all high praise for the Patriots, right? He talks about Dillon's accuracy, but what does accuracy matter if you don't score no touchdowns? Most quarterbacks feel like if my receivers can't score the touchdown, I'm gonna score the touchdown. I don't know if he ran up the field yet, but he does seem to feel like he needs his receivers. There are some scores out here for the lowest ranked quarterbacks right now, and Dillon is out there. In addition to that, ESPN Cleveland, where Daniel Oyefuse apparently works or has some information from them, put it out there that Dillon had 2 interceptions, and they're not being reported. Fans talked about he had interceptions. So why all of the assistance to help Dillon? Is it that serious that Shedeur not play, knowing he could win? Tell me if you think that Shedeur, Quinshon Judkins, and the defense for the Browns combined could beat the Patriots. I say so. I believe so. Yes. I believe so. But what's being happening is smoke and mirrors are being pushed that Shedeur is developing just in time to take over at the Patriots helm. That tells you how they know that Dillon is not good. You said Shedeur was going to play the last 4 games. Now he going to play for the Jets? And what kind of competitive football game can just take the schedule and split it in half and go, here Dillon, here Shedeur? And these quarterbacks are not even in terms of talent. There's a lot happening here, right? There's a lot happening here. So Shedeur seems happy because he knew before we did that they're going to play the last 4 games, right? Some people don't think it's going to happen. They think he'll get traded before he plays. I will say this. That is a possibility because why? The Pittsburgh Steelers announced that they want Aaron Rodgers to come back. See, when the domestic violence allegations came out, he announced, this is my last year. But maybe they found a way to smooth that over, so they want him to come back. I said, oh, we block it again. Maybe Shedeur is going to get traded. So when you hear all of these teams telling y'all publicly, yeah, we're going to keep our quarterback, we're going to keep our quarterback, we're going to keep our quarterback, it could likely be the same move that happened before the draft. Oh, we don't need a quarterback. We just got this quarterback. We don't need a quarterback. We just got this quarterback. So they don't have to get Shedeur. So he won't have a team to be traded to as QB1. That's what I think we get ready to see. It is true. The trade deadline is coming up, right? Fast. And now the team I said he could get traded to, Pittsburgh, the organization said they want to keep Aaron Rodgers. When Cam Newton was dismissed from the Carolina Panthers, the team he took to the Super Bowl, you know what they said? We couldn't find a suitable trade partner for you. Do you know what the word suitable means in this case? The word suitable in this case means you are a second round QB and nobody needs a second round QB. You are a first round QB and nobody needs a first round QB. So we're going to put you on waivers. And then you're going to have to go try out somewhere and maybe get in where you fit in. The beauty in that is he could get a new contract. But the hurtful part is he could end up like Cam. His career could end early. Cam went to the Patriots. Did that work out? Lamar Jackson was colluded against after he was an MVP once, maybe twice. And when he hit free agency, no team needed an MVP quarterback. I could see the same thing happening to Shedeur. Now, I could see outrage being the reason it don't happen because they know you can't handle this kid any kind of way. Fans are already starting to speak up, but believe me, that's the plan. Whatever happened to Lamar is the plan for Shedeur. Whatever happened to DTR is the plan for Shedeur. DTR is no longer in the league unless he just got back. 2 years in, and they booted him out, and he was drafted by Cleveland. 5th round. So they could send him for 2 years. And then year 3, send him to Philly. And guess what Philly did? They waived him, and nobody else has picked him up. I thought I heard him say he had a tryout with the Green Bay Packers. It's already 2 black quarterbacks up there. That's the position that they're trying to put Shedeur in. Now, people talked about the weather, right? We pointed out how Shedeur got the hardest stretch. We pointed out the weather itself could hinder Shedeur. And I said, well, it was cold in Boulder. And I don't know who was in the comments, but they said it. Cleveland is a different kind of cold. I said, you know what? You're right. Because I've been in Colorado at 19 degrees at Estes Park, Lake Estes. It was 19 degrees and we were outside because the 19 degrees didn't feel like 19 degrees somewhere else. 19 degrees in Atlanta is different from 19 degrees at 8,000 feet elevation. It's actually warmer. It's not warm, but it's not like it would be if you're lower to the ground because heat rises. So that's true. Shedeur did play in a high elevation and it was cold, but it probably wasn't Cleveland cold. Like it's already cold here in Atlanta, but from people up north, it's not cold to them. It's cold to me, but it's not cold to people from Minnesota or Michigan when they come to Atlanta. They're like, this is nothing. Because they used to freezing temps all the time. They use the blizzards, right? So that's just like the heat, right? I say it all the time. Atlanta's weather is better than Houston. Better than New Orleans. And people are like, oh, it's hot here in Atlanta. I'm like, you don't know hot. I'm like, you go to Louisiana and it's humid. You go to New Orleans, you go to Houston, ooh, and it's humid. But you go right there to Dallas and the weather's different. Dallas has Oklahoma weather, whereas Houston, is a steam oven. It actually can snow in Dallas, whereas it'll take a long time to snow in Houston. So the person, shout out to whoever it was that said, the cold in Cleveland could be a factor because it's a different kind of cold. That's true. And I think because Shedeur has waited to play so long, I don't think he's going to let nothing get in his way. But it's not about how he will perform. The question is, are they putting him in a position, a tougher position, while they're making it easier for Dillon? Are they putting Shedeur in a tougher position so he'll have to try to jump over the hurdles, high hurdles, and succeed? Is possible because the people that watch Cleveland play toward the end of the year can weigh in and tell us what it is he's really going to be facing, right? So I don't think the Browns intend to win versus the Patriots if they plan to roll with Dillon while Dillon tries to gain some chemistry with the wide receivers. See, Dillon's problem is he ran his mouth too much, and people don't really like him. Now, when you're making millions of dollars, you can't kind of put that in your way. But somebody also in the comments pointed out that these receivers running routes knowing they're not going to get the ball because Dillon is not like that. So Stfansky right now is the only person that's saying in the Browns organization, hyping Dillon up, oh, his accuracy. He ain't make no touchdowns. Even Mary Cabot said, now he got to score some points now. Now he got to score some points. See, the divide is. Stfansky is still rolling with Dillon because he's accurate for 10 yards. And even Mary Cabot, who was rolling with Dillon, is like, wait a minute. He got to score some points here. Yeah, he got to score some points. That's why I think he needs the receivers. Why is he just now trying to establish chemistry with the receivers? Did he not think he needed his wide receivers? Did he not have wide receivers at Oregon? You were supposed to be establishing chemistry with your receivers when Flacco was on the ground because you had to know Flacco was going to only play 5 or 6 games. Everybody said it. And even though he departed a little early, and maybe that's why he didn't have no chemistry, meaning Dillon with the wide receivers, because he thought Flacco was going to be here to carry the load. And I'm starting to think Flacco got the hell on because he knew they were using him to prop up Dillon with the hard part of the schedule. And he knew Shedeur was better, and he didn't like the way Shedeur was being treated. I'm willing to put good money on that. I'm willing to put good money on that. I think that's why Huntley didn't want to come back. And they could have had Huntley on the practice squad instead of Bailey Zapp. Now, why you think they went and got Bailey Zapp? They got him for a reason. I will tell you, with 5 or 6 games left at the end of the season, the Cleveland Browns, led by Kevin Stfansky, pulled Joe Flacco off the practice squad and had him play the ending stretch of the games to look like he was the hero. And they were not losing. The record was 7-4 at the time, which is 11. They had a winning record. And when the most important game came, the last game of the season, I guess it was like a wild card game, did Stfansky go back to the 3 black quarterbacks that have amassed the winning record, the 7-4? No. He went to somebody that didn't play all season. It's like Kevin Stfansky doesn't want the black quarterback to be the hero. And my question is that Haslam's problem too? Again, it's not a coincidence that every team that's holding back Shedeur, the Saints did, the Giants did, and we didn't hear anybody stay there with these phone calls that the Saints and the Giants had to listen to. But we did hear it with Pittsburgh, because why? Pittsburgh was going to go and get Shedeur. And now Pittsburgh, one of the first teams to say out loud, we want Aaron Rodgers to come back. That's telling Mike Tomlin, don't get no ideas. Don't go get Russ, and don't go get Shedeur. Best believe that's what that is. So now you have Shedeur expected to play the last 4 games 48 hours ago. Now Shedeur is expected to play versus the Jets. Does anybody believe it is possible that they just not saying out loud that Shedeur is going to play versus the Patriots? Or is this a game they're willing to lose because, like Stfansky said, oh, the Patriots this, they're good this, they're good that. In other words, it's like Stfansky set it up. We okay with losing this game. That's what it's given. That's what it's given. And then the subject of first team reps came up. Now, while you look up on the internet that the majority of the first team reps go to the starter, we know in Cleveland that Dillon had first team reps when Flacco was QB1. Dillon was QB2 and Shedeur was QB1. So people are saying it's outrageous. They're upset that Shedeur's not getting the first team reps when Dillon did. And if I'm not mistaken, Daniel Oyefuse asked that question weeks ago, and we talked about it on here. So I heard Stefanski's response today. His response was, oh, no, when you have a young quarterback like Dillon, blah, 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 blah. See, here's the thing. Stfansky is being put on an island to make it appear that he's the lone advocate for Dillon, that he's the lone person who's actively against Shedeur, that he's the lone person taking pleasure in trying to destroy Shedeur's career, trying to disparage Shedeur, defame him, and ruin his quarterback reputation. It is not a coincidence that you saw Haslam with those kids with the 12 on. It is not a coincidence you have heard not anything from Andrew Berry. It is not a coincidence that Rizzo told you Shedeur was playing the last 4 games. It's not a coincidence that Mary Cabot said that Shedeur could outplay Dillon in a 7-on-7 right now. But they're not going to move off of Dillon, which is Stfansky. But he got to score some points, which is on Stfansky. It's not a coincidence that Tony Grossi even said Shedeur will likely play when they come back from the bye week. It's not a coincidence that all of the top brass in the organization, which is Andrew Berry and Haslam, and all of the media that you see consistently that they run and tell everything to, said these things, which is Cabot, Rizzo, and Tony Grossi. They all about Haslam's age. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that they at every press conference, they know everything. It's not a coincidence they were tracking Arch Manning. It's not a coincidence they're no longer tracking Arch Manning. Not a coincidence ESPN Cleveland put it out there that Dillon had 2 dropped interceptions according to the metrics that ESPN Cleveland had. Everybody else has moved away from Dillon except Stfansky. Do y'all see it? Everybody has moved away from Dillon with the exception of Stfansky, and he looks crazy. But maybe that's the plan. Because like I was starting to say, Dillon went to the Manning Passing Academy. That's how he got to the Browns. It now looks like the Heisman was rigged to make sure Shedeur don't get on the stage because Dillon wasn't better than Shedeur in college. It now looks like the Browns knew when they were drafting Shedeur as their QB and didn't because of Deshaun, that they know Shedeur's going to outproduce his draft stock. Shedeur was better than Dillon because Shedeur was a first-round pick and Dillon never was. He went from undrafted to 3rd round. So now Kevin Stfansky, who lied and said there was a competition that Shedeur won 3 times, that he can't get first-team reps. But the other people that are backing away from Dillon are still lying on Shedeur. Cabot lying by saying Shedeur is coming along in his development, when in fact, the Browns refused to develop Shedeur. When he played against the Panthers, he didn't have no first-team reps. Not all training. He might have had him maybe at the last minute, but they gave Huntley first-team reps before they gave Dillon. So the Shedeur we saw versus the Panthers is the Shedeur Sanders we saw at Colorado. The Shedeur Sanders we saw versus the Lions, versus the Rams, is the Shedeur Sanders that was set up by the same Kevin Stfansky that refuses to develop Shedeur with first-team reps. By the same Kevin Stfansky that lied and said Shedeur was competing to be QB1 and it was a fair opportunity. All we have from Kevin Stfansky is lies. By propping up Dillon to say he's accurate, but omitting the fact that he didn't score no touchdowns, that Quinshon Judkins has to do all of the work. First, it was the defense got to do all of the work. Now it's Quinshon Judkins got to do all of the work. Everybody has to do the work but Dillon. And all Dillon has to say for himself is he needs the wide receivers to catch a 5-yard pass and run 20 yards. And he thought Flacco was going to do the work. And that's why they don't like Dillon, because Dillon was hiding behind Flacco, and Flacco said, screw it, I'm out. And the truth is coming out since Flacco left. The people at the top in the media might be backing away from Dillon because they were always going to pivot towards Shedeur. Take a listen to what a reporter in Cleveland said, a podcaster. We already talked about this, but they have the same opinion in Cleveland. So just take a listen.
It's coincidence through 3 games. He's been pretty unremarkable. And we're starting to hear some of the development that the Browns are telling the local reporters.
This has been my whole point the entire time, was that this was always going to happen this way. And we started to see it 2 weeks ago, and now we're seeing it last week, and now you're seeing it again today. The idea that once you start who Dillon Gabriel is, and they start to see who Dillon Gabriel is, they're gonna try to take some credit for Shedeur Sanders. This is it. This is their saving grace, is the idea that they're gonna try to make it seem as if Shedeur was not even close to ready previously, and now all of a sudden, voila, he's ready. And I'm telling you guys, nothing's changed with Shedeur Sanders. Nothing's changed with him relative to where he was before the season got underway. I'm sure Stfansky's doing some time and some work with him, but there's no drastic leap that's happened. He's always been better than Dillon. He remains better than Dillon, and now we're just counting out the time until the Browns actually put him out there.
Now, here's the thing, right? He's right, because why? Why is he right? Shedeur was a first-round projected draft pick. They used the rounds in the draft like religion. Shedeur couldn't pick his own jersey now because he was a 5th-round pick. Okay, So that means Dillon is the 3rd round pick, right? Well, let's talk about it. Shedeur was a 1st round pick that the owners took off the board because they said he was entitled. Haslam is an owner, so he was a part of that. He was in the room when the phone call came in and all the right people were in the room. What did they do? Call up on their yacht? That all the right people were in the room, which is owners. And they were told they better get Shedeur. And y'all know how it went down. You notice they don't talk about that. They don't talk about the text that came in. They don't talk about that. And I've said it. The White House spends a lot of money. I mean, not the White House. The Browns, NFL, the NFL itself spends a lot of money to keep the White House off their back. And the general counsel for the NFL used to work for the White House. Different administration, the Biden administration, I believe, 2023, but still, all these people know each other. They are well connected. So he's right? And we said this. Oh, they want to take credit for developing Shedeur, but here's the thing. They refuse to develop Shedeur. This is why Stfansky had to put Shedeur down. So here's the thing, right? We know all of this already. What they going to do about Stfansky? Because it still fires Stfansky. It fires Stfansky even more so now that we know that they're trying to take the credit and give it to Stfansky for developing Shedeur when Stfansky took pleasure in trying to destroy Shedeur's career. Now, this man is upset about that. He said it's wrong. And it's damn wrong. What we going to do about it? Now, that's why you want to be out color coordinated in the streets with a bullhorn with matching hats on. Because it's wrong for Shedeur to have been discriminated against, and all of a sudden, they want to gravitate towards him. He was right. That's the plan from the draft. When you sit up and you look at the Browns' loss last year, 3-14, they knew exactly what they needed coming into the 2025 draft. You cannot overlook the fact that they were planning to draft Shedeur and then remembered in March, we have Deshaun Watson. You've been knowing that. They used Deshaun Watson as a scapegoat to throw him under the bus. When I'm sure the NFL knows that the phone numbers of those women were given to Deshaun Watson by members of the Texans that never were discussed, which is why I believe Deshaun Watson has $230 million after asking for a trade. People in Houston know that. A lot of people know that. But just like not talking about why it is Sean Payton still have a job after Bounty Gate, it's crazy. But Russell Wilson talked about it today and ended his sentence with hashtag let's ride, and people riding with him. People are happy that Russell Wilson clapped back. He ain't got nothing to lose because he know the NFL going to dispose of him because technically they already have. And it's all because why? They cheated him out of his, $81 million in guarantees. He let go of his no trade clause to leave Seattle, to go to Denver. And then when it was time to sign the contract, the rules had changed. Bait is switched. So they did it with Russ, who's a God-fearing man, and Sean Payton has come out again to attack a God-fearing man. Even the Jets owner is said to have come out and attacked Justin Fields today, a God-fearing man. Luckily, Travis Hunter gets a nod for Rookie of the Week after he announced he's a God-fearing man. Meaning, I let God lead my life, and I'm not going to go against that. Shedeur said what? That he's at peace because he let God make the decisions, right? That's who's in control. And what did Emmanuel Acho say? Is Shedeur surrendering? Is he waving the white flag? I'm like, somebody need to take his microphone and go give him a Bible, because he's not surrendering to the NFL and the Browns and waving a white flag saying, okay, I'm not going to fight you no more. I don't even know if he was ever really fighting. I think he realized I might as well be myself because this ain't about me. He's right. This is about every black NFL that is a QB, every black NFL quarterback that is QB1 in such a historic year that is 16 of 32. So let's let him talk about was upset. And I'm sure it's people that feel like he does, but do they care? No.
Not stress enough the point that with more struggling that you see, or really from a 3-game sample size with Dillon that they're less than impressed by with, the more chatter you're going to hear about Shedeur Sanders all of a sudden overcoming all these made up obstacles that they put in his way. And I just think it's such a farce, and it just feels so wrong that they're able to do this and get away with it on a fundamental level. It just feels like someone.
I mean, every NFL team does this.
I know.
So he telling you every NFL team lies on players. That's what the cap is saying. Every NFL team lies on players. This is not okay. And here's the thing. All these podcasters out here could have said what this man and myself have said for months. And now that they see it materializing, quiet. Quiet. People come to my comments and tell me all the time, other podcasters really need to learn how to talk about the topics that are negatively affecting these black players, and they don't want to talk about it. I talked about Quinn Ewers, and he white. Yeah, I talk about what's happening to the black players. I see Quinn Ewers being colluded against. Have no idea why they colluded against him, but I do believe, just like this man, it's a made up. It's made up so Shedeur wouldn't be the only one. That's exactly what I think. And I think he gonna benefit the next go round. I think he might get traded, hell, to Cleveland or another team until Arch Manning come out, because they are making Dillon look bad for a reason. Leaving Dillon out there with 52 reps and no touchdown, he ain't getting traded for no 3rd round pick. If this man can sit up and tell you that Dillon is struggling and doesn't look good, and that as they talk and the chatter is more about Dillon doesn't look good, they gravitate towards Shedeur. To me, that's what it was going to always be, which means that it was sinister to say you're going to get Shedeur at number 2 overall because he has QB1 talent. And you remember, oh shit, I forgot. We have Deshaun Watson, and the insurance company is paying his salary, which means the $46 million Deshaun is owed. That comes from the insurance company. They were only going to have to pay Shedeur $11 or $12 million, maybe $8, because it's an escalating payout. So let's say they were going to pay Shedeur $10 million. The insurance company pays the $46 million. Then you indeed could have drafted Shedeur as your franchise QB. Here's the thing. They could have traded Deshaun because his injury isn't a long-term injury. In fact, he already good to go. The insurance payment has a date on when he can return. So what they going to do next year? Lean on Deshaun for one more year and blame him until the Manning kid come out of school year after next, which means Dillon is going to be QB2, QB3, or Bailey Zapp is going to emerge? Or they going to trade Dillon away? And then there's Shedeur. Like I said, they're not doing Shedeur any favors. The reality is they intentionally robbed him of $46 million and made fun of him when he only made $4 million because he thought he was all of that. Because he was rich already. Because they knew he was going to sell jerseys. Because they had him at the NFL celebrity game. So we not paying him $15 million this year or $12 million or $10 million this year. And he making $15 million off of us for jerseys. That's $25 million in 1 year that the NFL, by way of the Browns and the NFL and whoever pays them for their NIL money, basically, which is the Players Association, I think, they would owe Shedeur $25 million this year. They can't let Shedeur play because nobody is speaking the truth that the Browns knew Shedeur was better than Dillon. And they allowed Kevin Stfansky to hold Shedeur back intentionally. See, that's a whole different legal conversation. That's beyond bait and switch. That's racketeering. And you heard the other guy. You know the NFL does this all the time. So he's telling you racketeering and collusion is not new. The question is, who does it happen to the most? The Shedeurs. Every quarterback that came to Cleveland. So, this young man, I feel like they tried to disrupt his mental health. I think Kevin Stfansky took pleasure in discriminating against Shedeur. I don't have no problem with saying it out loud to a judge. I think a judge would know because Brian Flores' lawsuit is moving through the courts. And in Brian Flores' lawsuit, he said Black NFL quarterbacks are discriminated against in the NFL where racism is rife. And that speaks to exactly what you have witnessed play out with Kevin Stfansky taking pleasure in holding back Shedeur. And while they all are backing away from Stfansky verbally, they lying on Shedeur, with Mary Cabot leading the way, saying that Shedeur is developing nicely. But earlier they used the stereotype that he can't learn because Black quarterbacks can't learn. So why they pivoting away from the stereotype? Because it's discriminatory. When is Kevin Stfansky going to stop being discriminatory? When Haslam tell him to. Why would Haslam support the disparagement and defamation and collusion against Shiloh Sanders? Because they did it in the draft when they took him off the board. The owners did. So Stfansky feels confident that he has, Haslam's approval to discriminate against Shiloh Sanders and hold him back for first team reps, to defame Shiloh Sanders, to destroy his career, to destroy his reputation by lying and saying he can't learn. How the hell would Mary Cabot know if Shedeur can't learn? She not out there running them plays because that's what they told her to say. So you know what that means, right? It means that they really rolling with Stfansky to cover by lying on Shedeur to say he can't learn. So they covering for Stfansky. Just like Miami is covering for Tua, and Miami is covering for their head coach, who donated a win to the Browns to save Stfansky. The reason they saving Stfansky is because they allowed Stfansky to discriminate against Shedeur and take pleasure in it with no consequence. Which means they've been hyping up Dillon all this time. They knew he wasn't better. They let him look bad just to make Shedeur feel bad. So I do not believe that the Browns intend to win versus the Patriots with Dillon at quarterback. And now suddenly Dillon wants to have chemistry with the wide receivers that he wasn't worried about when Flacco was here, because Dillon is content to let everybody else do the work. This is how toxic the Browns are. I hope I have slowly explained it enough for you to understand that these radio stations, the media, Cabot, while they all throwing Dillon under the bus, they really are covering for Stfansky, the person we're saying should be fired immediately, because they gave Stfansky permission to discriminate and collude and try to destroy Shedeur's career. And that comes from Haslam at the top. This is Haslam's team. So he don't get a pass at all. 223 of us. So let me see if he finished his statement. I think he may have. No, I think he got a little bit more to say. Let's check out the rest.
I know, but it feels like dragging Shedeur through the idea that for his reputation and his name, for months on end, people thought he can't play the position. And they told enough people behind the scenes, and you know this firsthand, Nick, they told enough people behind the scenes that he was so far behind, laughably far behind, and all these other things, just so they could make themselves look good in the end of it. And that's all they're trying to do. Well, we fixed Shedeur. We got him to a spot where we could play him, and thank goodness we did just in the nick of time. And I just think it's wrong. I think it's wrong to besmirch his name that way, and I think it's wrong to go ahead and drag his name through the mud that way when he didn't deserve that.
I think it's cool.
Facts, facts. What this man said, I know we've said a million times. How many other podcasters have said it? This is what have should been saying the whole way through, because there are so many podcasters from Colorado that talk about Shedeur that this is all they should have been saying. What he just said, I know I've said it. I probably used disparage, he used besmirch. I used defame, he used besmirch. Same message. I said it was a bait and switch, which is what he said. This was always going to go down like this. And I have said to y'all, I don't really think they like Dillon. And you just heard from somebody else, this was always going to go down like this. Which means they were always going to let Dillon look bad. Knowing Shedeur looked better. Knowing Shedeur was actually better. Andrew Berry said it. Shedeur Sanders is going to outproduce his draft stock. I had been asking, and when is that going to happen? Now we know the last 4 games, 48 hours ago. Now, starting with the Jets. So they care to make some money now. Is it because their seats were some empty seats in the rain? Is that why they changed their tune? No. This was always going to be the case because Andrew Berry told you post-draft, day 3, Shedeur Sanders is going to outproduce his stock. We know what Shedeur is, what he's about. He's going to come in here and work hard, and he did, but it didn't matter. The Browns have lied all the way through. From pre-draft, it's fraud. All of it is fraud. Has them out there with them kids is performative. Mary Cabot throwing Dillon under the bus while trying to protect Stfansky by saying Shedeur is coming along. And you heard this man in Cleveland. I said this from Atlanta. She lying. They didn't mind trying to destroy Shedeur's reputation because they have to trade him. Or they plan to trade him to another team and keep his value low. And that's when they're going to be met with a riot in the streets. That's when they're going to be met with a disruption of the damn internet because fans are not expecting Shedeur to be traded as a QB2 or a QB3 or a 5th round QB or a 4th round QB. Fans want Shedeur Sanders traded because they believe that Cleveland is incompetent. And I'm telling you, the Cleveland Browns are intentional when it comes to discriminating against Shedeur Sanders. And now you heard somebody else say it, who's in Cleveland. But I can see it all the way here from Atlanta. And honestly, I think it has everything to do with 17 of 32 and the money. They paid Cam Ward 1st round guaranteed money, and they over there trying to bench him. Somebody had the audacity to say that it's crazy how people said the Browns were trash for getting rid of Baker Mayfield. They didn't have a choice. And now they're talking about get rid of Dillon. I'm like, I know you're not comparing Dillon to Baker Mayfield. See, this is the whole problem right here. When they lie, people believe it. There are people who believe that Dillon just needs development. He had all the damn reps from Shedeur, and Shedeur still look better than Dillon. If the Browns refuse, when the Browns refuse to develop Shedeur and he goes out here and balls out with the Panthers like he's a pro-ready QB, and Bernie Kosar calls it out because he's looking at it in camp, then you know Kevin Stfansky is lying to the reporters, including Mary Cabot, by saying Shedeur can't learn. And if Mary Cabot ever see this, you ought to hold Kevin Stfansky for making you accountable for pushing the stereotype about Shedeur Sanders, a persistent and pervasive stereotype that black quarterbacks can't learn. You, Mary Cabot, ought to hold some consequences against Stfansky for lying to you because you repeated nothing but lies. And I'm sure her family being in the media, she know that ain't on her. But why repeat it? So whoever this gentleman is, he's correct. He's correct. Lying on this kid, defaming him. So now we have the facility who was taken off the air. What did they say following the draft? Which got them taken off the air? Go argue with your mama because that's why they gone. They lied to us about Shedeur. Exactly. And this was after the draft, before we even got to training camp. And the show is gone. And LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy said it on Emmanuel Acho's show. They lied to us about Shedeur. And if Shedeur was a white quarterback, he would have been drafted. I have said the trade that makes sense is Quinn Ewers coming over to the Cleveland Browns and Shedeur going to Miami. But Miami seems to be donating games because maybe they want to get them a white quarterback out of the first round next year. And they're going to trade Quinn Ewers and Tua somewhere else. I don't really know. But what Miami is doing is called tanking. And the teams that have to play Miami have a vested interest in defeating Miami because some of them are in playoff position or one away from it. So Miami is donating games, which is why the head coach and Tua have no consequences. They doing what they supposed to do, lose. Meanwhile, Justin Fields is being attacked because he was benched and didn't let it get to him. He decided to use it to spread the word of God because that's how he's been able to be sane after how he was treated or mistreated in Chicago. Just in case you don't know, Chicago has a revolving door at quarterback too. And they were planning for Caleb Williams to fail, so much so that they paid their QB2, who went to a D3 school, $10 million, but Shedeur can't even pick his own jersey number or get first team reps at QB2. Let me see Shedeur get a $10 million contract for this year. That's how you know they was planning to push Caleb Williams out. They weren't planning to help him succeed. Somebody else did, apparently. So let's see if he had any more to say. I think that might have been it. But he was spot on, right? That was it. He was spot on about everything he said. And if you're just not joining us, just go back and listen to the podcast, just back up a little bit, and then you'll have a chance to listen to what he's saying. Now, there are people who are putting around like a video, right? Of Lamar Jackson, because I had him flagged. Again, you should record everything, right? You should record everything because there's a video going around of Lamar Jackson getting some street food, going to a food truck and getting some food. And the assumption is that he's inebriated with a substance like something, I don't know, I guess marijuana, maybe, I don't know. But that's what they guessing, right? Somebody called him Crack Jackson. That's how ugly it's getting. And, I say this again. These guys got to understand when you got a target on your back, you can't put yourself in a situation where they could justify taking your guarantees, because that's the era of the NFL. Oh, let me just grab his guarantees. Now, they already last in the division. So I was like, why do y'all have to record every single thing? Right? You don't have to record everything. Just like Kendrick Perkins. He either going to be divorced or fired. If he married, divorced or fired next week. Because he set up on ESPN while they were recording. I mean, you had to know the camera was rolling. It said to his coworker, a woman, why get ibuprofen when you could just get perk? And sat back in his chair and laughed. I'm like, is he high? Because and the look on her face was like, what's the number for HR? What's the act for HR? And I'm sure he thinks it's funny. But if he's married, it damn sure ain't funny. And if they want to get rid of him, he gave them a reason. And if they want him to do something extracurricular or special for them, they got leverage to use against him. So they saying Jackson was possibly, I don't know how you could prove it, but Perkins, he better have been. Because that's crazy to say that to your coworker on national TV. Again, that's crazy. Divorced or fired or leverage. So I don't know. I don't know. All right. So I wanted to say something about Shiloh. Shiloh, I had a thought, right? We were talking about Shiloh being the Edward Waters. People in the comments say they liked it. I like the opportunity both for Edward Waters, both for Shiloh. I said that Shiloh, I hope he goes to the Celebration Bowl, go to a Jackson State game, maybe the SWAC, because, you know, when Shiloh was there, they went to the SWAC. They won the SWAC championship. Then they went to the Celebration Bowl. So that's good content for him, good exposure for Jackson State. They're doing a good job with their content. So it's a good opportunity. The SWAC championship and Jackson State for Shiloh to go, because, you know, he real huge on, you know, shout out Jackson State all the time. But I was thinking, I said, you know, I think Shiloh should definitely go to, since he's still in, I think he's still in Florida until December. He has a penthouse till December. You know what he should do? He should go to the Miami Heat game, and he should go to the Orlando Magic game. Now, why the Orlando Magic game? Because Angel Reese dates Wendell Carter Jr. She just posted her jacket, you know, going to the game on her page. But you got Angel Reese there, you got Shiloh there, Wendell Carter Jr., their relationship, the Orlando Magic. I'm like, Shiloh, that's good content. So what I'm pointing out is Shiloh can do well without the NFL. And how long do y'all think it'll be before he just lets that go? Like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good in this lane. Do y'all think like he possibly still have hopes that maybe next year he could get back? Or do you think he's at the point now where he's like, you know what? I see a future here. I'm good. What do y'all think about that? Where he can actually see that he should not want to go back to the NFL. The way that they find him and didn't even penalize the other player or eject the other player or anything. Like, how long before Shiloh realizes, right, that the path you're on is probably protection for you, and it might be actually better, right? Because how long was he really going to be in the NFL with him being on the practice squad? Honestly, I think he played well. I mean, I think the other players made mistakes. I think his blitz on the QB was enough to show that this guy should at least be on the depth chart and not the practice squad, because it looks like he was going to go on the practice squad. So my question is, like I told y'all about a former NFL player that had made $25 million. He decided to retire and go and start a farm, which is perfect. How long before you think Shiloh realized that this is a better lane for him than being in the NFL, who ostracized you, your dad, and your brother Shedeur? Let me know your thoughts about that. Okay, so before we get to the comments, I wanted to share, since I got on my jersey, what I wanted to talk about with basketball. So I'm a basketball fan, right? I was watching the highlights. I think I was watching the game, but I watched the highlights a couple of times. And it was the Lakers and the Warriors. Now, the whole time the game is on, I hear Luka Doncic. I hear Luka name. I know I heard it 100 times. I know I did. I know I heard Steph Curry name. I heard Draymond name. I think Gary Payton Jr. name. I did. I heard Jimmy Butler name. I heard their names. But I heard Luka's name so much. And I didn't hear LeBron. I said, wait a minute, where's LeBron? So he was in street clothes. He was on the side. Now, I had seen LeBron twice already, but not anything associated with basketball. I saw LeBron on his wife Savannah's podcast called Everybody's Crazy. And I saw it maybe like a week and a half ago. They had Kai Cenat on there and another member of AMP and somebody else, and they were talking about not wanting to be alone. And then they did another episode where they were talking about how much they love Lotto, etc. So he just on her podcast, and he in street clothes, and he not playing for the Lakers. And I hear Luka Doncic's name, I know 100 times. And I said to myself, when I saw all of the advertising, I didn't see no LeBron. And now I know LeBron is still in the NBA because he in street clothes on the side. But what is given is the LeBron era in LA is over. And Luka is now the star of that team. And a lot of people are watching, trying to figure out if the Lakers really won the trade, if Luka was traded because he wasn't living up to expectations with his conditioning, or if it was all just a ruse to move on from LeBron and usher in the next era with Luka. So shout out to the Warriors because they won the game. And I was like, am I listening to a Lakers broadcast? Because I would have thought that the Lakers won the game. They did not. I said, all of this talk about Luka, and they not winning. They not winning. And at one point, it was like 88-68. And the Warriors had 88, and the Lakers had 58 or 68. And LeBron didn't look happy on the side. And people were clapping and all this, and LeBron was just looking like, okay, but we losing, right? So I was like, okay, is the LeBron era in the Lakers, even if he played, have they moved on to Luka and phasing out LeBron? You let me know. Let me know your thoughts. All right, so shout out to the Warriors for winning the game. That's why I wore my jersey. But if you watch that game, you would think that the Lakers won and Luka is the starter team and LeBron is maybe just done with the team. Don't know what's going on. Feel free to clue me in. Like I said, the season just started. So I'm getting ready to hop over here to the comments because I'm curious to see what y'all are going to say about what we talking about. And let me know your thoughts. Like, how do you feel about Dillon basically trying to say, that like he kind of like putting it on the wide receivers, right? Like saying there needs to be chemistry with the wide receivers. I mean, bro, we 7 games in. You going on game 8. How you don't have no chemistry with the wide receivers? Is it because Jerry Jeudy was sharing a locker with Flacco? Why they didn't have Jerry Jeudy sharing a locker with you? Because everybody knew that Flacco was temporary, even on the field, even if he was on the team. I'm just saying, y'all let me know your thoughts about Dillon's comments, and not his comments. I don't really care about his comments about how it is that he's saying they need chemistry on week 7. And why wasn't he trying to foster that chemistry before? What do you think about that? Right. All right. So let me take this off screen. We're going to get to these comments. Let's see. Thank you, everybody. There was over 250 of us. Awesome. 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 All right. One thing about when this channel starts to grow that hasn't happened yet. Every now and then we get a little weirdo. We do. But the moderators are always on it. And honestly, I would have thought by now that, people would just be coming over and saying rude things, because transparency, right? But that's not happening. So shout out to y'all in the comments for holding it down. And even when the podcast is over, y'all are holding it down in the comments over after the video upload. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, the moderators, the supporters, to everybody. Y'all got us to 5,500. Y'all know we on the way to 10,000, but it looked like we might be getting ready to, maybe for Christmas, we're going to be at 6,500 or something like that. So shout out to everybody that's hanging out with us. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. People say all the time, y'all hype me up and y'all want the podcast to keep growing. So make sure that, if you're hanging out with us, you subscribe to the channel because it's always great. And we're a wonderful community. And don't forget to shop at whatshesaidsports.com. I dropped a new Shedeur hoodie with Colorado black and gold. Go check it out. Go check it out. And don't forget to use my code NOLA Girl, all caps, NOLAGIRL. All right. Hey, Mac, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Echo That Media. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. I love the chat because the chat always greeted each other because they come here every day. So everybody know each other, or at least every week, everybody knows each other. So it's a good community if you're thinking of joining. And shout out to the new members. We got like 3 new members in the last week. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all. Don't forget, Friday, we have the members only podcast at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we talk about things behind closed doors and working on content for Patreon, which is exclusive content over there. So run over there and become a member. Shout out to you guys. So here we go. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? Nikki is my alarm clock. When I see her post on TikTok, it's a reminder to stop working for a bit and run down to spin class. So today I saw Nikki So Fit on TikTok, and I said, okay, you're my alarm clock. And I ran right down to the gym, and I didn't do spin class today. I just did the circuit. So shout out to Nikki So Fit. Keep the good work up. Keep up the good work. Hey, Selmo, how you doing? Congratulations again. Selmo is one of the contractors or subcontractors for the new stadium in Cleveland. So shout out to Selmo. Go Cavs. Did they win too? Okay. Go Hawks. Feel free. There's a game tonight. While we live, feel free to drop the score in the chat. Go Hawks for sure. I'll be wearing my Hawks jacket next. It said no first team reps ever. He can play next season or get traded. That's crazy. So he hasn't had any first team reps, period. Even though they lost, go Hawks. Oh, Lord. It said, now let Dillon Gabriel keep playing. Shedeur is not a janitor. You know, I know that that's what it looked like, but I'm telling you, it's more sinister than that. It's more sinister than that. Nobody wants to make the connect the dots to the $46 million, to the $4 million. Nobody wants to talk about how they made fun of Shedeur, who wanted to get his full pie with no agent, but all he ended up with was an uncooked Pop-Tart. See, that kind of narrative tells me that they didn't want to pay him $46 million. And the reason why they didn't publicly, go look and see if there are reports about the Browns pre-drafting with Dillon, because there are reports about the Browns pre-drafting with Shedeur. And a reporter called out the Browns after the draft and saying, why did you keep it a secret that you were pre-drafting with with Dillon, so that Shedeur could go to Green Bay? They knew the whole time. It seems like if you look at the fact that they went 3-14, they intentionally did not get a quarterback. They intentionally did not get an O-line. But they pre-draft with Shedeur. They knew Deshaun wouldn't be back yet because insurance. They can tell you that Shedeur can't learn this. He can't learn that. Everything, he can't read defenses when we watch Shedeur throw open his receivers. Every lie they told tries to negate the truth. But they didn't know Dillon wasn't good. That's bullcrap. You knew Dillon was an undrafted free agent. You saw his scouting report. You had all your answers for Shedeur and why you negated him. But you don't have no conversation for why you elevated an undrafted free agent to third round. And the only connection I see is the Mannings and the Manning Passing Academy and Dan Lanning in Oregon. With them tracking Arch Manning, with them trying to bring in Peyton Manning and push out Andrew Berry, the Mannings. That's how Dillon is in front of Shedeur. Just like in college. Instead, imagine that Dillon Gabriel has all first team reps and still playing like garbage. Right. And that's what happened. Remember when we used to look at the little tracker? I still got some of those trackers. Right. And I know those trackers out there. So if y'all see them, grab them. Remember the tracker that showed Dillon had like 119 reps? It was horrible. I was like, why are we moving forward with this? Because they intentionally held Shedeur back so he could only make $4 million. They knew when they took him off the board, he would make less money. They knew if he fell to the 5th round, that I say that they love because they use it to devalue quarterbacks and push him out the NFL early. It's not a coincidence they had him throwing to the water boy. The same water boy, or the same scenario that they said Shiloh Sanders' phone number was sent out with a waiver wire, including the equipment managers. That's who they had Shedeur throwing to, the equipment managers. At that moment, they wanted Shedeur to think he was cut. They wanted him to be antsy. They wanted him to be depressed. They wanted him to tap out. They want him to beg. They want him to cry. They want him to be shook. But instead, he's at peace. And their lives are being exposed. There's no coincidence here. You're not going to tell karma what to do and how long to do it. This karma, ladies and gentlemen. And it ain't over yet. This Patriots game is huge. It say, hey, Mac, they're going to use him as a janitor. They trying. It said Judkins better watch out for injuries. Right. We talked about that, right? We talked about how somebody said yesterday about Judkins, the word workhorse is a good term. It is, but not in this context. Judkins is going to be used to save Dillon because that's what happened in London. That's what happened last week. And that's what's supposed to happen against the Patriots. I didn't hear I didn't hear Stfansky for the little time I listened to him say much about Quinshon Judkins. Maybe he did and I missed it. Y'all let me know. But instead of going on about how accurate Dillon is, he need to be talking about how Quinshon Judkins is saving the offense. That's or is going to have to save the offense against the Patriots. That's what he need to be saying. And Dillon worried about having chemistry with the receivers. He should have been worried about that when he got there on day one. But see, now I'm starting to think that Dillon always knew he was a wedge to block Shedeur, that Dillon didn't feel like he had to have a relationship with the receivers because he was Stfansky's boy. That's what's wrong with Dillon. That's why in week 7, he now needs chemistry because he's Stfansky's boy. That's why he was on the golf course with Stfansky. That's exactly what he thought. He wasn't going to have to do no heavy lifting because Flacco was going to do it. And that tells me that's why Flacco got the hell on. And that's why he a starter where he went. And they try to devalue him by sending a 6th-round pick. So they was pissed when Flacco left. Flacco don't care. And we over here cheering for Flacco. Can't wait to see Flacco versus Shedeur. I'd love to see Flacco versus Dillon. Wouldn't y'all? Hey, Queen, how you doing? It said, don't count out the officials that can make a difference in those games. No, I totally agree. This game should be a blowout, right? Like the guy you just heard from the radio station. Dillon been struggling. Of course he's struggling. He not good. He was propped up after going to the Manning Passing Academy. Dillon went from a dual threat quarterback at USF in Oklahoma to damn near a pocket passer at Oregon. And then he couldn't get no love from the NFL. So he stayed a 6th year, became a pocket passer, and went to the Manning Passing Academy. That's not a coincidence. He was already becoming what they needed him to be in the NFL, a doormat. And his family ought to tell him the truth. I know the money's good, and that's what's supposed to make him look the other way. But the problem is, he didn't think he was going to have to do the work because he's Stfansky's boy. Because why? Flacco was doing all the heavy lifting. Nah, you a 3rd-round pick. You should have been starting. It said Kevin Stfansky, the proverbial out, he let the cat out the bag. Yeah. It said they are trying to get the credit for Shedeur's development, just like Travis, the Jags agenda that cannot slow down Coach Prime football team. Right. You're not going to do that. And if I'm going to tell you what it feels like with that comment, it feels like the Heisman race all over again. Right. Travis gets the Rookie of the Year nomination. I mean, the Rookie of, no, he could be Rookie of the Year. The Rookie of the Week nomination for week 7, right? Now, if Shedeur was playing just like at the Heisman, they both would be at the front of the race. See, these people have sat down. They have talked about the implications of allowing Shedeur to be QB1, that he's so good, he going to get out there and ball out. He going to make $10 million from the league itself and another $15 million from his jersey. They have talked about all of this and how to combat it. What they did not anticipate was the truth coming out about the Ole Miss sweatshirt guy connected to the New York Giants, right? On camera, doing what he was told to humiliate Shedeur. The NFL didn't expect the truth to come out, that they were the ones to give out the damn phone number for Shedeur, along with a waiver wire that said, meaning he's going to be waived. And then they had him in the exact scenario that his phone number went out to everybody, including the equipment manager. And Shedeur was over there throwing to the equipment manager, which means they were trying to humiliate him in front of everybody at the Browns organization. And it seems to me that it maybe a lot of players know about the email that went out. It's documented. And it seemed like Flacco had enough. When they bitched him, he's like, okay, I'm out. This shit just too ridiculous, right? So we don't know what they saw every day, but just listening to Cabot you can ascertain that they're lying on him because she's repeating the lies that Shedeur could learn. And yes, they're trying to take credit for what they refuse to do, which is develop Shedeur. And he has to allow that. And they hope that he'll allow it. So maybe they'll give him some grace and trade him as a 3rd round pick, which is what Dillon is. But don't forget, the man is all over this scenario between the Saints, the Browns, and the Giants. All over it. All over it. It said Dillon Gabriel been getting first team reps since he got to Cleveland and he's still playing bad. Right. Because what does it prove, right? It proves that you're not going to turn an undrafted free agent into QB1, elite QB1, because you give him reps. That's not, that might be, I don't even think that's developing a quarterback. I think that's teaching the quarterback the plays and he goes and practice the play. What Shedeur has, you can't teach. He's naturally talented. He's naturally gifted. Dillon went to Oregon and they actually dumbed down his position so he could come into the NFL ahead of Shedeur, which tells you, I don't know what Oregon really over there doing with Dante Moore. Is he a true dual threat? Is he really coming out this year? Because he's listed as like a redshirt sophomore or a sophomore because he must have redshirt last year, which means he could come out. But should he? Because people said Lenore Sellers should come out and not take the $8 million. And you don't even hear his name no more. Dante Moore better learn a lesson from the Lenore Sellers. If somebody offer you $8 million to stay at school and switch schools, you better do it. You better get your $8 million and go to another school for 2 years and give God time to try to fix this mess for Black quarterbacks. Black quarterbacks have been in the worst position before, and they still advance. But it hurts and it causes problems. And these guys sometimes don't get over it. And then a new crop come along and they don't even know the sacrifice and what the players before them had to endure. So, Dante Moore, if they offer you $8 million, you better take it. And switch schools, you better take it. So it sounds like to me, Dan Lanning wants to get his school a pipeline to the NFL, like Georgia, on the back of Dante Moore, knowing that they use Dillon to cheat Shedeur. Yeah, we're going to see how that works. It said they know Shedeur is him. Right. In every lie they're telling, like, Shedeur can't read defenses. I'm like, Shedeur throws his receivers open, which means he damn sure can read a defense. And it's like they don't believe that this is documented. People were pointing out that, Shedeur accuracy is off the chart because he was throwing in a trash can deep ball into a trash can at CU. But on like ESPN or one of those big box channels, they had somebody went and recovered, I guess you could say, a post where they were talking about Shedeur and how he can read defenses and he's skilled. When Shedeur said he the same QB he was at Colorado, he not lying. All he had to do was come to Cleveland and learn the plays. They're not going to get away with this. They think they're going to get away with this. They're not going to get away with this. They already being exposed. And to have Russell Wilson, everybody applauding Russell Wilson for speaking up. Here's the thing, right? Yes, Russell Wilson is a God-fearing man. And when he was in Denver and he didn't say nothing, maybe it was best that he don't say nothing at that moment. Because I know a lot of us have been in a situation where it was good we ain't say nothing. Because if we'd have said something, it could have popped off, right? We know that, right? So I'm not going to chide him for not saying anything in the moment because who knows what was going through his head. But nobody ever needs to believe that when God said revenge is mine, he didn't say don't stand up for yourself. He said don't go get Juju and Ray Ray and make something happen. That's the difference. Standing up for yourself is one thing. Accountability is also one thing. But revenge is another. And Russell was mature when Sean Payton tried to humiliate him. See, humiliation is not a new tactic. They tried to humiliate Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Justin Fields. Caleb Williams. How many white quarterbacks have you seen the NFL try to humiliate in the same way Shedeur was treated? They bending over backwards trying to protect Dillon because is being used to keep Shedeur off the field. But at the same time, he's not the guy. We're going to get our guy next year. If you Dillon, you crazy. You crazy to let people use you like that. And what is Dillon learning right now? This is why you don't let people use you like that. Because now you out here begging for a relationship with the receivers that you should have been working on, but you want to be entitled and let Flacco do all the heavy lifting because you Stfansky's boy. It ain't never good for a grown man to be another grown man's boy. Well, the wide receivers are calling him out too, right? Because he's probably trying to blame the wide receivers. I'm like, it's week 7, bro. You should have been trying to do that. The wide receivers are going to have career lows, low reception yards, receptions, low everything. That's what they saying, Marlon. What are they saying? The receivers out here running routes knowing they're not going to never catch the ball. That's got to be disheartening. These guys want to win at this level. Now, see, if the black players came into the league, any of them, if any of the players came into the league and they just wanted to collect the check, they would be trashing them. Does anybody know who Josh Rosen is? He came and went. He just came and went. That's what a lot of these black players and these white players who are not okay with the way Shedeur is being treated, but you're scared to speak up. Just come and go. Just come in, get the 40 mil, and get the hell on. They ain't say nothing about when Josh Rosen did it. I don't want to hear nothing about it when CJ Stroud do it or when Justin Fields does it. I don't want to hear a damn thing because they didn't say nothing about Josh Rosen being in and out in 4 years flat and getting his millions. Just like Trevor Lawrence. That situation, Trevor Lawrence contract and Travis Hunter's rookie contract should expire at the same time. How long has Trevor been in Jacksonville? Nobody talks about. They talk about how expensive his contract is. Nobody talks about why is he tied to this team from 2029 and why, after getting Travis at the number 2 spot, even with him being a rookie of the week nominee, why is it seem like you taking Travis off the field? You don't take Trevor off the field. That's who you should take off the field. Honestly, that's where Shedeur should probably go. I'm not saying it was a rumor, but honestly, that's really where he should go. I know the trade to Miami makes sense because Quinn Ewers could go and play in Cleveland. But to be honest with you, I could see why that rumor probably had legs at one point. Because his contract is in 2029. Trevor's contract is 2029, I think, and 4 years for Travis. And he probably got a 5th-year option, 2025 to 2029 or 30. It all lines up. Coach Prime coming in, possibly. Trevor Lawrence moving out. Shedeur coming in. It all lines up. So I could see why the rumor had legs. And it still might later on down the line. I don't know. We're going to have to see. Hey, how you doing, Simply Sarah? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It said, hey, Nola, sis, what she said, sports into the community. How everybody doing? It said, I noticed that 2 was on the jersey. What's that, Saeed? When you say on the jersey, what jersey are you talking about? Let me know. I did create a hoodie. Is that what you're talking about? I created a hoodie with Shedeur in black and gold. And it's cute. And it says Shedeur on the back. Yeah, in white. It's cute. Check it out. It said, what she said, sports, you're on to something huge. Yep. Yep. It said, I don't see Dillon Gabriel as being a passionate player. He just got his money and he's okay with it. That's Dillon and Tua. Dillon and Tua have the same mentality, and I don't know why that is. I really don't know. I thought that Tua would like try to, I don't know, be a team leader, but he throwing his teammates under the bus. He talking about what they talking about in the locker room. It's just kind of crazy, right? It's just kind of crazy. Let me show y'all something real fast. Y'all probably saw this already, but this is hilarious. Let me share this because it's funny to me. Oh Lord. I should have saved it. Let me see. They had Shedeur in there. Oh, let's see. Hold on. Here it is right here. All right. So this is funny. I'm going to play it. I don't know. I think it's okay because it's not copyright. So I'm going to play it. And I think it's funny. We just going to laugh at it. Welcome. If you're just not joining us, hit the like button. We just talking about sports. All right.
You're doing great. So come on down to Scatterboo, Costume Me Emporium. They're popping up everywhere. Woo!
I should probably go in, to check on him, right?
All right, morale trip to the costume store. Y'all can get whatever you want.
That's Eric
Let's
Glenn.
just go with these. Say, old sport, wouldn't this be a gas?
Drake May.
Or should I go with this? Which do you fancy, Trevion?
I'm going with this.
Trevion? Let's skedaddle, Ramondre.
Shedeur. The baddie's gonna go crazy for mine time.
That's not enough.
I'm gonna keep it a buck.
Is this Cam?
Fam, we both can't be number one. Coach,
The
tell me
Cardinals.
number two.
Jacoby, you're number 2.
For now.
Tua, he's calling for another players-only meeting.
Tua.
Anyway, I think I'm gonna be a penguin again.
Oh,
but that's so good.
Can I help you? Hell yeah, brother. Ah.
Skeleton QB.
Sorry. No, you take it. Rico's too quick for these boys.
Rico.
go with this one instead for some reason.
Sometimes you just want to be comfortable, But this is more my speed.
Same
Ravens.
costume for 7 years running. A sexy Zach cat.
Flacco.
Yeah.
All right, coach. What's the plan?
Let's just run this clock out. It's about building a culture, you know?
That's funny to me. Y'all gotta go watch it because they were talking about
just isn't very good.
that's Caleb Williams.
Close.
What is your deal, man?
Caleb's decision making just has to be better.
All right, so y'all go watch it. It's funny to me. They have another one with Shedeur, and they have it's called The Baby Goats. And this is funny to me. They have Shedeur and the other like rookie quarterbacks in a room, and they feeding Shedeur a bottle, talking about the baby goats are supposed to be like the rookie QBs and Cam. And then they have the veterans like Lamar and I guess Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, all of them are the goats. And then Shedeur and them, they had Shedeur there as a baby goat, and they were feeding him a bottle. But did you see how for the Halloween they said Shedeur, the baddies are gonna go wild for mime time? There's prime time, but mime time because he was miming. I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious because it just kind of tells you the creator what he feels like where everybody is right now. So they know Shedeur get the baddies, right? And then they, it's not old because mine time was probably 2 weeks ago. So if you didn't go watch it, it's on YouTube. That's season 10. So they have a lot of that. And let me know if y'all had already watched it, but I just thought it was funny. 277 of us hit the like button. It said, "Yup, Bucky got the real video." Yup. Hey, Valerie, how you doing? It said, "Dillon has been getting reps with the ones all summer. There should be no excuses for him why he has no chemistry with the wide receivers." Right. Why you don't have no chemistry? Because you was going to let Flacco do the heavy lifting. And, it's funny to me how their guy is Bartano, Batonio. They just celebrated how long he been with the team. But it's funny. He was resting, I think, when Dillon played. I don't know why, he could get sacked 6 times when they were all out there on the golf course together. So the wide receivers are not the only ones Dillon need to get some chemistry with. Because you would think if I was out golfing with you, Stfansky, Batonio, and Dillon and somebody else, somebody else was supposed to be Dan Lanning. You would think that I would have coverage from the O-line. And if I don't have coverage from the O-line, I don't have chemistry with the wide receivers, I'm saying BS about Shedeur. Maybe people just really don't like him, right? And that's the truth about his personality is coming out, right? Now you need the team because Flacco gone. Says a lot. It says Shedeur needs to be traded. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Believe me, it's gonna happen at some point. I thought it was gonna be Pittsburgh, but now they want to keep Aaron Rodgers. And again, if you hear everybody mimicking the same, we want to keep our quarterback. We want to keep our quarterback. They know Shedeur gonna get traded. So that's facts, right? It said Dillon Gabriel and Kevin Stfansky. It said, what did he say? He protects Dillon like he's a pet, right? That's what I mean. One grown man should not be another grown man's boy. Like, he's Stefanski's boy. Everybody know that that's Stefanski's pick, which from the outside looking in, you see Stfansky on the island is the only one hyping up Dillon and lying. He ain't even hyping up Dillon. He lying. Why are you talking about Dillon's accuracy, but you're not willing to talk about he don't have no touchdowns? Why is the ESPN Cleveland have to come out and say Dillon had 2 interceptions? Stfansky is on the island, but maybe he feel like he still got permission from the owner. But if I see a photo of the owner who supposedly gave me permission to try to destroy Shedeur's career and his mental and his reputation over there with somebody with the 12 jersey on, I would stop. I'd be like, oh, okay, so now what you did to Shedeur, you're going to do to me. Yes. But see, that's what arrogance does. Arrogance never thinks that it's in the path of harm. Even if it caused harm, it don't ever think about karma. It don't think about the people that they did dirt with are going to choose to do dirt to them. They never think like that. That's what arrogance, it blinds you. And that's what Stfansky is. It said, I still think the Haslams are behind this mess. You should, because that's their team. And they owners. And the owners took Shedeur off the board. You definitely should believe that. If they weren't, they would have never came out there with them kids, with them 12 jerseys on. I told y'all that was performative. It definitely performative. I also said, and this is what I do on X. I post, did I call it or did I call it? I said yesterday when we were live, I said, now let's see how long before everybody is saying Shedeur should play for the Jets. But here's the thing. Even Rizzo said it. I said, it's interesting how they get ready to play the Patriots, but everybody want to push up Shedeur playing after the bye week for the Jets just after they said they was going to play 4 games. Why is nobody pushing for Shedeur to play in the Patriots game when the Patriots are 5-2? Why is it okay for Shedeur to play against the Jets, but not the Patriots? Why is it okay to say Dillon deserves his turn when this is a competitive sport? When fans pay good money to come watch a competition and not WWE? Why is it okay to talk about Shedeur starting versus the Jets, which pushes up his timeline, but not the Patriots? Are the Browns planning to donate a game to the Patriots like Miami donated a game to them? Or maybe they're trying to catch Shedeur off guard. Didn't Baker Mayfield say that? Baker Mayfield said in that video, the one we watched with the black player and the white player play for Cleveland, and they told us how they both wanted to get out of there for different reasons. The black guy said his coach wasn't talking to him. Mayfield said, it was the losing was getting to be too much. So they both were trying to find ways to cope. Baker Mayfield said, I got comfortable in the backup role. So he wasn't staying alert. He wasn't leaning in. He was just comfortable in the backup role. So he didn't think he had to do nothing. Dillon thought he was going to be behind Flacco. That's what he thought. And maybe that's what they told him. But that's why he don't have no chemistry with the receivers. I don't know why the hell he don't have chemistry with the O-line. And if the O-line is that trash, then you know what? Go on, let Dillon play against the Patriots, because I don't see how that game going to be easy unless the game is rigged. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. It says, like the playbook is revised to protect Dillon Gabriel, like he's a QB in need. Right. And here's the thing about that, right? When you talk about the playbook and the game plan. So the game plan for the Patriots should be tailored towards Dillon, because they already say he QB1, even though they know he's not capable. So I don't know what the hell they got going on other than Quinshon Judkins. That must be the plan. Quinshon Judkins and the defense must be the plan to win this game. And Kevin Stfansky just blowing smoke up Dillon Gabriel, because ain't no way you tell me you are confident that 52 passes and no touchdowns can go out here and beat the 5-2 Patriots. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I don't even think you believe that. So what's really going on? Well, one thing about it, we're going to find out. We're going to find out because Sunday's coming. That's the thing about it. Sunday's coming, and I'm still not watching it. I'm going to wait and go do something else, live my life, and I come back and I hear about it. And I still didn't watch the highlights of, I don't even know if I don't think I even watched the highlights last week. Can't do it. It said, let's get those likes up. Yes, thank you. Said, since the Browns are full of propaganda and lies, Shedeur may not ever see the field. That's possible. Somebody said to me on X, because I think I posted that Rizzo was trying to be slick, talking about Shedeur could play for the Jets, blowing smoke. I said, why Shedeur can't play for the Patriots? Why y'all don't talk about that? It's not competition if you insist that Dillon gets a turn. This not a participation league where you get a trophy because you showed up. Let me know when y'all start hearing conversation coming out of Cleveland about Shedeur possibly getting in a game. Because what did Mary Cabot say? They're going to open a can of worms. Why they going to open a can of worms versus the Patriots, but they're not going to open a can of worms versus the Jets? Can anybody tell me the difference between the two? Let me know. This is crazy. Maybe they don't want Shedeur to get out here and beat the Patriots. Because I believe if Shedeur and Quinshon Judkins and Isaiah Bond and Jerry Jeudy and the whole entire defense, I think they could beat the Patriots. And maybe that's why Shedeur can play against the Jets, because they don't care. They bad. Maybe we don't want Shedeur to beat Drake May. Maybe we don't want people asking, why you didn't let Shedeur start? Then we don't want people asking, why you only paying him $4 million and you already had Deshaun Watson, you owe Shedeur $4 million? Let me know, because it's odd that Shedeur could play versus the. But as talented as Shedeur is, the chemistry he already has with Quinshon Judkins, he already has with the wide receivers without first team reps. Gage is over there too. And then the defense, and that's what the players have spoken out about Shedeur's readiness, which means the players, Jerry Jeudy, Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, ready for Shedeur to play. And they don't want Shedeur to play versus the Patriots. This ain't about Dillon. This about Drake May. 17-32. Stay tuned. It said they know it's no good QBs coming out of college next year, and now they want to keep him as a dinosaur. They could. That could be reality, because the Arch Manning kid not coming out, right? I already got Shedeur for cheap. Understand this. When I pre-draft with Shedeur last year, I knew these companies playing decades ahead. I'm going to give the NFL 5 years, because you don't always know who the talent is. But when Shedeur was at Colorado last year, around this same October timeframe, wasn't Arch Manning over there at UT? And didn't they want Sarkisian to bench Quinn Ewers for Arch Manning? Which meant when the Cleveland Browns gravitated towards Shedeur, pre-draft with him extensively, scouted him at CU, he was going to be their number 2 pick until, oh shit, I forgot. What's his name over here? Deshaun Watson. You forgot about somebody that you go owe $230 million to? Yeah, okay. This is why I say they targeted him, just like they targeted Charles Woodson in 2024 to be a part owner at the Vegas Super Bowl, ushering Charles Woodson to go meet Haslam. But they didn't announce Charles Woodson until 2025. So they went from March of 2024, where they had an owners meeting and could have announced Woodson in 2024, all the way to 2025, because they saved it. They saved it. And what did they do? They released it early, because I had posted it, that they made him a partner after they devalued Shedeur $46 million, and they don't want to look racist. They knew when Shedeur was the number 1 pick coming out of college in October, and Arch Manning was at UT, and there was a campaign for Sarkisian to bench Quinn Ewers for Arch Manning, that they were always going to devalue Shedeur in the draft, pretending to be interested in him, knowing Arch Manning was coming out this year because they was trying to get him to come out. Here is the rich in the plan. Arch Manning ain't good. See, they expected him to look halfway decent enough so they could scoot him up to number one and don't give a damn what nobody think about it. But he is not ready. He needs another year. They would kill his career. The fans would have a fit and realize you did all of this losing because you wanted to wait on the Manning kid, which means you knew that you were not going to draft Shedeur with $46 million money if in 12 months you going to draft Manning. That's how you know. That's fraud. And I know there's communication to prove it. That's what they did to Shedeur. And he going to have to get to a point, and maybe he has, where he realizes this ain't about your daddy, and he might be past that. This ain't about just 17 of 32. It is. This is about, they knew when they came and got you last year that they was going to play in your face and push you down to the 5th round like they do to other black quarterbacks. So they could boot you out in 2 to 3 years. That's sinister. That's racketeering. And that's what I mean by, if you look at them last year, being comfortable with going 3-14, they knew what they needed at the draft. And they needed Shedeur. But what we didn't know is they were never going to get Shedeur. They always planned to get the Manning kid. Not a coincidence, Dillon went to the Manning Passing Academy. They set him up. That's ugly. And the truth, that's ugly. And this is somehow, I feel like Brian Flores' case is just going to blow the lid off of it, because he talked about how black quarterbacks are discriminated against. What they did to Shedeur is downright evil. Playing in his face, and they weren't going to never, because Manning kid was always on the draft board, even with him at UT. That's why it was such a push for him to come out. That's sad. That's sad right there. And all the fans ought to stay home. A first round QB dressed like a 5th rounder. It said a first round QB dressed as a 5th rounder. Yep, because he couldn't pick his jersey number. It's ugly what they did to him. I heard number 1 Fernando Mendoza is at Indiana. Yeah, he's supposed to be coming out. Let's see where he go. He's not black, so when it comes to 17 to 32, that's a safe bet. But it ain't gonna be Cleveland. Watch what I tell you. I think hell it might be Miami. That's what I'm thinking when you think about Miami tanking, because they tanking, bro. They tanking, and there's no consequences for the coach, no consequences for Tua, because I can go from Tua to Mendoza in Miami. Come on now. And the league trying to go international too. And Miami is getting ready to play in Spain this year. So you know they already have a clue as to what games they're going to play and what countries they're going to play in next year. And then they came out and put out a statement that they are definitively moving forward with Bad Bunny, because people have been trying to pressure them not to. They ain't moving off of that either. Mendoza fits right into that. Tell me I'm wrong. How you doing? How you doing? What's new too? It said, yeah, Dallas is North Texas. Yeah, the weather is totally different. It said, did you visit the Rocky Mountain National Park? Pretty sure you did, but absolutely right about the cold in Colorado. Not bitter at all. I don't know. I don't know if I was at the, I know I was in Lake Estes. Don't know. Because the crazy part is, I'm like, do you have to pass Colorado? I feel like I saw the University of Colorado somewhere coming in the airport from Denver, but I've been to Denver multiple times. Copper Mountain, Breckenridge. Yeah. So I just know the elevation is different. The weather is different the higher up you go. I do know that. That's like when you go to Maine in the Northeast, the sun feels hotter because of where you are, geographically. Same thing. So I think Shedeur is that much of a star. I hope the weather cooperates. If you look at the last 4 games, I think 2 maybe were home games from last year. It was no rain, but it was cold. But I don't know. He put on some thermals or something. We're gonna be cheering for him if it happens. If it happens, because they could be saying all of this for people to go run out and get tickets, and then what? Trade him before the trade deadline, which is what, November 6th. So he might get 2 games in, and they might make some money off of the tickets. So don't trust their media. Don't trust their media. It said since Cleveland is cold, is Canada win chill factor. Oh wow. So yeah, that's probably different. That's probably different. It said last year winter in Missouri, we were 18. Ooh, ooh, that's cold. And I bet that cold. I bet 18 in Missouri is much colder than 18 at 8,000 feet. I bet that much. I'm willing to believe that. It said Mary Kay said Shedeur was the most accurate. Yeah, she playing both sides. She played both sides. Rizzo too. It said Dillon Gabriel don't really talk to the receivers like that. That's his problem. Cause I don't know what the hell how do you not talk to your receivers when you got to throw to your receivers? Oh, you was just gonna hand off the ball to Quinshon Judkins, or you was gonna let Flacco do the work. Oh, okay, all right. Well, then be quiet. Then go on and play the Patriots and hand off the ball to Quinshon Judkins. And when the number 11th ranked defense stops the run game, because that's all you got to do. Every team that's getting ready to play the Browns that really give a damn about winning knows they ain't got no quarterback. So don't worry about the receivers. Just go ahead on and stop the run. It said Dillon Gabriel would be okay if he didn't slick this. Right. I do think that people would try to help him if he wasn't trying to dish Shedeur. But see, here's the thing. If he was just being catty, that's one thing. See, Dillon know he not better than Shedeur. He know he was leading on Flacco to be there or Quinshon to get the ball, but then he wanted to dish Shedeur like he better than Shedeur in character. He is no different than that coach that got fired from Colorado State. Remember Norvell? Remember how he dissed Coach Prime? That's what Dillon does. Norvell ain't better than Coach Prime, and Dillon ain't better than Shedeur. So let's see if he get fired. And by fired, I mean just booted off somewhere, pushed off the island, because he damn sure on one. Him and Stfansky on a what they call it, an iceberg in Alaska, and I swear they finna push both of them into the ocean together. Let's see. But Stfansky could try to catch Shedeur off guard, knowing damn well Dillon ain't playing. Like Baker Mayfield said, he got complacent. They could, because you're crazy if you think. I don't even know if anybody thinks that Dillon, without Quinshon or the defense, is beating the Patriots 5-2. 5-2 Patriots. I don't think that. It said you can't slick this and go be sorry knowing Shedeur better than you. That's what I'm saying. He moved like Jay Norvell, right? Like Jay Norvell was hating on Coach Prime, and he wasn't better than Coach Prime. I mean, we all knew that. I'm not shocked he got fired. I just thought it would have been last year. And the little quarterback that they offered $600,000 to leave, who said, "I'm not here for the money," why he hopping in the portal? I wonder if they gave him $600,000. Take the money in college. Take the money in college. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. All of these people who act like they have a higher sense of consciousness. Lenore Seller's father, I sure hate he did that. He don't need $8 million. You could build something special at South Carolina. I was like, the South Carolina? The state of South Carolina? I'm like, the deep fried South? Who's your senator? I'm like, serious right now? I was like, they must not be from the South. I'm telling you, being from the South there's street sense, there's book sense, and there's being from the deep fried South sense. You know how to move. Ain't no way anybody from South Carolina that's black would turn down $8 million before they go pro in the NFL for 2 years to go to another school that's probably not in the deep fried South. There's no way, bro. If you thought kissing somebody's hiney was gonna help your son, it helped him get a concussion, because they needed to move him out of the way. And I tell them to their face, that's what they did. Why you don't hear about him no more? Now it's Dante Moore. Let's see what happens. Be safe, Dante. So Mendoza and Miami losing, it's a good fit. It's a good fit, and I don't have to even tell you why. It said he sneak dissing because he knows Shedeur is better. Right. He should have just been quiet. He should have just been quiet. You know what? I said it. I said, Dillon was my nephew. I talked about this. I said, don't let these people use you. I'm like, because you know you're not better than him now. Like, so, now Neff, you're not better than him. So it's just don't let people use you anyway. And if you think you better than him, and when you find out that you're not, it's your saving grace that you was just quiet. Cause see, he done messed up. Now he needs the team, and the team wants Shedeur to play. Okay. The team already came out and said Shedeur was ready. They already let it be known, right, that they want to win. And now he needs the team. He should have been making inroads with the team. It's week 7. Now that's what entitled looks like. Now he's entitled. He thought somebody else was gonna do his homework. That's what he thought. Did you see how disgusted Judy was? I said I wanted to watch it, Miss Pamela. I didn't get a chance to see what he said, but I heard about it. I was out here trying to watch other people's stuff and live too. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one. Thank you. It's that Judy was saying a lot without saying it. Okay, y'all tell me what he said. Y'all might as well just tell me what he said. And while y'all tell me what he said in the comments, I'm gonna share this with y'all. Because it's out here. It's the lowest NFL QB grades. Let's take a look, shall we? Let's see who got the lowest NFL QB grades. You think I would have saw Judy on X, but I wasn't really on there like today. All right, so here it is right here. Okay, I made myself smaller. Let's see. It says the lowest graded QBs in the NFL this season, according to our QB impact. So this is about impact metric. All right, entering week 8, the minimum of 2 starts. So you have to have a minimum of 2 starts to be on this list. The worst is Jake Browning, but we knew he wasn't a starter. He was a backup. And then Cam Ward. I sure hate that for Cam. Dillon Gabriel, not a surprise. Then Russell Wilson. Okay, he ain't even playing no more. He benched. Justin Fields. I hate that. Joe Flacco. Let's check back later. He just got to the Bengals. Bryce Young. Not a surprise. Trevor Lawrence. Not a surprise. Spencer Rattler. I sure hate it. Gino Smith. I hate it, bro. Remember when Shedeur and Gino Smith took a picture together? I remember sharing it because I knew that they only got Gino to block Shedeur. And it's not working out. But they don't care because they gave Gino a contract for 3 years that I felt like wasn't guaranteed. And maybe it is, but I don't think it was. And they knew he was not going to be around to capitalize off of that contract. Gino Smith was a first-round draft pick like Shedeur, but he was pushed down to the 2nd round. He was physically present at the draft. He was visibly frustrated. It was not the 5th round, but they still devalued him. He said he did not. They tried to write him off. He didn't write back, so I'm sure he and Shedeur has had some conversations. Right now, they trashing him. Is Pickett playing because he's the backup? So not surprised by this list at all. I told y'all all 16 quarterbacks with the exception of Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts are catching hell right now, including Pat Mahomes trying to dig his way out of the bottom. So, you know, it is what it is. So, you know, that's what it is. Let me see if I have. Let's see. I think that might be it. Oh, I can show this one because this is Colorado. So again, people were showing proof that they lying about Shedeur in Cleveland too. Just like Shady McCoy said they lied to us about Shedeur about the draft. Now you can say they lied to us about Shedeur in Cleveland. The accuracy, Shiloh Sanders, way back Wednesday. Somebody had actually posted this 7 hours ago. I don't know when it originally was, but obviously Shedeur was at Colorado. And it looked like it's just spinning, so I don't know. All right, I better get off of here with that. I don't know why it's spinning, so I better get off of here and stay off of that. Yeah, I closed that because, you know, sometimes things get weird. So let me get back to the comments. It said the Jets want Sanders. Interesting. You think so? I mean, it could be. People keep saying he should go there. I don't like the owner trashing Justin Fields though. I don't like that. Now, hold on. You said the Jets, right? Remember, I said the NFL compares Shedeur. Now he's a first round projected draft pick, but his QB comp was Gino Smith, which I thought was crazy. But then I remember Gino Smith's story, and I knew he went to 3 sorry teams before like 3 years before he had a chance with Seattle. Let me tell you what those 3 teams are. Gino Smith. Hold on. I think it's the Jets, the Giants, and the Chargers. Let's see if I'm right. Oh, no. Maybe it's the Seahawks. Let's see. Gino Smith, NFL career. Let's see. All right. Let's see if I could. When I noticed they compared Shedeur to Gino Smith, I knew they were going to make Shedeur a pass around. It sounds ugly, but it's a reality. All right. Gino Smith has played for the New York Jets, where y'all say Shedeur is going. And maybe that's where he was going to end up as an undrafted free agent, because he was not supposed to get drafted. The second team for 1 year was the Giants. And he only played 2 games. So get this. For the Jets, in 2013, 2014, he played 16 and 14 games respectively. His completion, let me share this. It's not a video, so y'all should be able to see this. This is interesting. They actually let him play, even though they sent him to 3 sorry teams. But his completion percentage, even with him playing so many games, was only 58%. So it seemed like Shedeur's situation is similar, has parallels to Gino Smith, which is when I saw them posted up in Vegas. I said, okay, I think, they know each other or something, but I'm pretty sure they talked. I'm willing to bet that they talked. Let's see. Gino Smith. Here we go. All right. So I'm sharing this so y'all can kind of see. Now, imagine if Shiloh Sanders had gone undrafted, Mr. Irrelevant. He beat Quinn Ewers' position, dead last, behind a horrible quarterback. And they not trying to give him opportunity. But Quinn Ewers did get in the game. They won't even let Shedeur touch the field. That's one of the differences between collusion with Quinn Ewers and the collusion with Shedeur. Shedeur was humiliated. Quinn Ewers was not. He was quietly dropped to a later round behind a quarterback like Tua, who was supposed to be booted out. And he's allowed to back up Tua in the game because he did versus the Browns. Now, that's where they different. But over here, as you can see with, one second. I'm talking and y'all can't see my screen. Over here with Gino Smith. All right. He played for the Giants for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. So he was passed, but he wasn't from year to year to year. And he was 55%, then 59%, then 64, then 57, then 58. Kind of like lackluster. He had some good yards his rookie year. I think he ended up going in the second round. But look at how many times he was sacked. He was sacked 43 times in year 1, 28 times in year 2. Then in year 3, it goes down to 3, and then it goes down to 1. Mary Cabot said something about Shedeur got to learn how to protect himself. Shedeur was being set up by Stfansky. That's where I say they trying to throw Dillon under the bus, prepare everybody mentally to get ready for Shedeur, but they still protecting Stfansky, who openly and is actively discriminating against Shiloh Sanders. So he definitely not getting no pass. Haslam ain't gonna get one either, but it's gonna take longer for him to feel some consequences. The fans just gonna have to all stay home, and I don't think that's gonna happen. Then he went to the Chargers. So after he was sacked all of these times, 71 times? He was sacked 71 times in 2 years. And then he obviously got better at it. And you could see his accuracy went up. Not here and here. And then his completion percentage in 2018, they moved into a new team. What happens when you move to a new team? He only played 5 games. So by this time, he was already deemed a bust. All of these sacks, this is the same thing that's happening to Cam Ward. Cam is already they trying to say he's a bust, when really he's not. I believe these things are intentional. And this is why I said Shedeur didn't need to play in Cleveland, because this would also happen to him. And then they moved him to the Giants for 1 year. But again, he only played in 2 games. So by the time he went to the Giants, he was a backup. Clearly, he was a starter playing 16 and 14 games and 13 and 14 respectively. Then he moved on to the Chargers. This is where Tyrod Taylor had his lung punctured. The same team. Tyrod Taylor had a bad experience with New York. Tyrod Taylor is currently with the Jets. Tyrod Taylor had his lung punctured with the Chargers. These are the same teams. So you should be able to guess where Shedeur. These are the same teams. I don't know, but I don't believe Gino Smith and Shedeur Sanders are the same quarterback. I don't. But they both were first-round quarterbacks projected. They both were devalued. Shedeur much worse and humiliated. So Shedeur's being devalued wasn't the typical devalue for a black quarterback. His came with an extra helping of evil. Because Lamar Jackson was humiliated. Shedeur Sanders was humiliated. And they both were humiliated by the NFL. So was Gino Smith. But Shedeur's is still continuing. When Lamar Jackson got to Baltimore, he became the MVP his first year. He actually had the opportunity to do so. I don't know if Shedeur will have that opportunity if he go to another team. So the disparagement, the humiliation, it all stopped after Lamar got drafted. Now, they did try to convert Lamar to a pocket passer, and they failed. But now in 2025, they're trying to convert Lamar to a pocket passer. And to make sure it happened, they 1-5. They last. They after the Browns. So then, you can see right here, Gino didn't give up. This had how many years is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He had to go 6 whole years. Daniel Jones was allowed to be a bust for 6 years. And now they say he gonna win the MVP. Gino Smith made it to 6 years to get to Seattle, where he wasn't the starter in year 1. He wasn't the starter in year 2. So he had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? He had to play in the league for 8 years to endure being overlooked for 8 years. Then he goes on to Seattle. 2 years there. Then in 2022, damn near 10 years, 9 years after he's drafted, 17 games, 69%. He was in Seattle. His best damn accuracy came. Look at this. Putting up video game numbers. 4,000 yards. 70% accurate. In Seattle in 2024, and they boot him out. So he finally makes it. And they snatch it from underneath him, boot him out to Vegas. And now, through 7 games, 65% accuracy, 1,400 yards, they said he's a bust. So what does it look like? It looks like they were trying to make it difficult for him to attain success. And when he did in Seattle in 2024, they booted him out to Vegas. Disrupted his success. And this is who the NFL compares Shedeur to. So, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go, guys. You see somebody else's journey. This is what I meant yesterday when I said Black contemporary artists are successful for illustrating, painting the Black experience day to day, daily life. I said, I wonder what it would look like for a Black contemporary artist to paint the Black quarterback, NFL quarterback experience. You could just look at Gino, you could look at Lamar, you can look at Shedeur, you can look at Russell Wilson, you can look at Justin Fields, you can look at Cam Ward as your muse and put it all together. And I think what they paint would be gory, or if it's an abstract, it would just be chaos. This is what Brian Flores meant in his lawsuit when he said the NFL is rife with racism, that Black NFL quarterbacks are discriminated against. When Steve McNair took Tennessee to the Super Bowl and they lost because some dude was just shy of the goal line, they booted him out of Tennessee. They didn't leave him there so he could run it back. Went to his second Super Bowl and won. They dismantled that team with a quickness to the point they asking one of, I think, their defensive players is coming back from retirement because the team has been dismantled. When the Black quarterbacks get success, it's disrupted. That's just what it proves. And people say, oh, what about Pat Mahomes? Why is Pat Mahomes clawing his way out the bottom this year? It was just only a matter of time. It just was. So, that's what it is, guys. So we're going to get ourselves out of here. We 2 hours in. It was good tonight, though. This was good, right? Yeah, we on a Shedeur watch. I said, what are we looking for next? All right, so we know they line on Shedeur. Who going to do something about it? That's the solution part of that. It's now we're focused on, do the Browns really want to win this game? They're not preparing Shedeur with first team reps. They've stated that Dillon is playing. I don't believe nothing they say. They could be trying to catch Shedeur off guard, so he could end up like Baker Mayfield, off guard, somewhere trying to cope with this situation. But it's okay for Shedeur to play for the Jets. So we focused on week 8, and we're going to wait and see why it is that it's okay for Dillon, who has no chemistry with the wide receivers, who the O-line couldn't really protect, to play versus the 5-2 Patriots. We're trying to ascertain why it is they will push up Shedeur playing with the Jets, but not have a sense of urgency to prepare Shedeur with first team reps to get ready to play against the 5-2 Patriots, believing that there is a very strong 99.9% probability that Shedeur at QB1, Quinshon Judkins at RB1, Jerry Jeudy, Isaiah Bond, some of their tight ends, and the defense for the Browns could actually defeat the 5-2 Patriots and improve the Browns' 2-5 record. We'll be back to talk about that tomorrow. We got to look at the Patriots, see who they are. If you're a Patriots fan, let me know who we looking for on defense. Who's their guy? I know number 44, but it takes more than one person. Who's their Myles Garrett? Who's their Mason Graham? Who's their Carson Schlesinger? Who's Denzel Ward? Who's the new guy they just got? Tyson Campbell? Him, I think. So we want to assess who the Patriots are. And I think the more we find out about the Patriots, it'll become more glaring that Shedeur should be playing in this game. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be working in some basketball as we get probably closer to January. But don't be surprised if I'm talking about basketball. I'm a basketball fan. So basketball news is included. So I'll see y'all tomorrow at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all for hanging out with What She Said Sports tonight. Thank you. And I look forward to your comments later on. Bye-bye.